Welcome back to Adventures with the Hat Commander. This is another episode of Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. Last game, we met Hope and recruited her to our coterie. All we had to do was be convinced that she wanted us to participate in some freaky stuff that didn't wind up being all that freaky, although still kind of weird. She denies being cuckoo, but she seemed pretty cuckoo. But all of that was to make us uncomfortable so they didn't call us a bigot later. Anyways, next we're moving on to our next recruit, I think. I haven't decided who I want to do, but I think I might try the gangrel next. You make your way through the Grand Army Plaza, passing the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arc. Speaking of which, I got to find somebody to feed on. I've not fed on anybody that was interesting yet. You can't help but feel a tinge of nostalgia as you picture the place, as you've seen it countless times in broad daylight, teeming with life. You quickly get over it and pass through the northwest gate into Prospect Park. The park is its usual maze of unkempt foliage and dimly lit alleys. Silence hangs in the air, as it would at this time of night, and there doesn't appear to be any signs of kindred presence. You start to suspect Langley's source fed her a bunch of baloney, but you're not willing to give up just yet. As you ponder your options, you hear footsteps coming from behind a line of trees. Quick, but evenly paced, most likely a late-night jogger. No vampire would take kindly to feeding in their domain, but then again, perhaps you could kill two birds with one stone. Yeah. You lock onto the sound of footsteps, predicting the runner's path. You move swiftly but quietly to intercept them. You hide behind a tree and wait for the prey to get closer. Mere seconds later, a young man in an off-brand tracksuit, man, it's always got to be dudes, trots into this view. You notice the buds in his ears beat heavy music bleeding through. That should make things easier. Just as the man passes by, you emerge behind him and plant your hand firmly on his neck. He struggles at first, desperately trying to break free of your grasp, but as soon as your fangs pierce his skin, panic gives way to peaceful submission. You feel elated as the warm liquid trickles down your throat. The fresh vitae washes over your senses, sending an pleasure shiver along your spine. Somewhere in the deepest, darkest crevices of your mind, the beast stirs in its slumber. You stop feeding just in time, your hunger satiated, the beast fast asleep. You sit the day's victim on a nearby bench as the world comes back into focus. You suddenly realize that something is not right. In a split second, the air by the side of your head swirls like a vortex. Driven by sheer instinct, you lean back just as five-finger-shaped razors cut through the darkness, missing your face by an inch. A clawed shadow jumps back a few paces, preparing to correct its mistake. You catch a glimpse of the assailant. Looks pretty animalistic, all right, but he's not the one you're looking for. For starters, it's a he. Just as he's about to lunge at you, or assume gender, at you, a snarl resounds from the bushes nearby, stopping your foe in their tracks. Shame on this company. Guarantee they wouldn't do that these days. Out of the shadows emerges a young woman, baring her teeth ever so slightly. She walks over calmly, her eyes fixed on your assailant. Her presence is enough to make him reconsider attacking you, but now, to withdraw completely, he glances over to her, puffing up his chest. Stay out of it, Tam. I smelled him first. Tam, how about that? She raises an eyebrow but remains silent. Her compatriot turns back towards you. You shouldn't have come here, pretty boy. I'm gonna F you up so bad you'll be wearing your tongue as a frickin' necktie. Tamika looks at you expectantly. All right, boy, let's see if your bite is as bad as your bark. Clearly taken back, he looks over to Tamika as if gauging her reaction. Guess I knew who the alpha is around here. A barely visible smile creeps up on Tamika's lips. The man's eyes narrow. Although you can't really see it, you could bet the hair on the back of his neck just stood up. Shut your flippin' mouth, pretty boy. You should have run when you had the chance. A fierce growl echoes across the alley, stopping the savage in his tracks. Tamika walks over to her comrade, her fangs glistening in the dim lamplight. She puts her hand on the side of his head, caressing his hair and tugging at his ear. As if she was scolding a puppy, she leans over and speaks in a voice that's firm, yet oddly affectionate. It's okay, Raoul. I'll handle it from here. The male gangrel looks at her with a mix of timidity and resentment. Then he turns back towards you. You want to waste time on this patootie hole, Tam? Be my guest. Having said his piece, Raoul retreats into the shadows, although if you were to guess, he's likely to stay within earshot. With her companion gone, Tamika turns to you once more. What do you want? Straight to the point, huh? I like that. I don't care what you like. Now quit stalling. You have something to say it. I come with an offer. I'm willing to offer you my services, such as they are. All I would hope for in return is a fruitful, long-lasting relationship. So, you want to help me with something because you want to be my friend. That's about right? Yeah, when you put it that way, it does sound corny, doesn't it? Uh-huh. She puts on a veneer of skepticism, but you can tell she's intrigued. Corny's not bad, though. I think I'm okay with corny. What I'm not okay with is putting my patootie on the line and getting stabbed in the back for my trouble. So why exactly should I trust anything you say? I don't expect you to, not yet anyway. Good, because my trust is earned, not given. And let me earn it. A few nights of your time, that's all I ask. For a brief moment, she stands there motionless, looking straight into your eyes, as if trying to size you up. Finally, she looks away. It looks like she's coming to a decision. Just so that we're clear, I don't trust you. I have no reason to. Frankly, you sound more lost than I am. That's for sure. Still, you have that earnest look about you, naive almost. I can tell you believe what you're saying. So I'll give you a chance to prove yourself. I have some outstanding business to take care of. I'll let you know once that's done. Meet me here and we'll see what you're really made of. And with that, Tamika disappears in the night. That went pretty well, all things considered. That was the fastest recruit I've had. All right, it is time for bed. Just double checking. Not long after you wake up tonight, Gregory knocks on the door of your apartment. Hey, I came to pick you up. Miss Langley wants to see you. Any idea what she needs me for? I'm not in the position to ask. He smiles politely. The car's waiting, shall we? You wrestle with the same thoughts as a few nights ago. Maybe you should just leave, disappear, let Sophie find somebody else to employ. But then you remember the anarch thug being cut down by Kadir, and how close you were to the same fate not even a week ago, and that it might still happen if you step out of line. You follow suit. As with your previous visit here, Sophie seems not entirely present. When you enter, her eyes are locked onto one of the paintings in the room. You're pretty sure it was here earlier, but she's behaving as if she's seeing it for the first time in her life, entirely entranced. Gregory clears his throat. Sophie turns to the both of you, a bit of irritation in her countenance that soon gives way to a pleasant, warm smile. You're here. Excellent. Thank you, Gregory. Her driver leaves and she turns her attention to you. I hope you had a good few nights and made some new acquaintances, but I have to say, I'm happy to see you, Calvin. Thank you for coming. The change in mood of the room is so sudden and startling, it makes you consider the true power of vampiric charisma. Rationally, you know you're being manipulated, but you don't even care. Her eyes, her emotions, her entire body language all feel 100% genuine in expressing legitimate interest in you and your well-being. I have a request for you this night. I need you to find somebody for me and make a delivery. She points to the statue at the side of the room. You notice a plain-looking flash drive lying on the edge, where the inanimate archer's bow touches the pedestal. The man you'll be looking for calls himself Kaiser. He has eyes and ears all over New York, and it's rare for something to happen here without his knowledge. I'll need you to take this flash drive and bring it to him. In exchange, he will give you an address, which I need to know as soon as possible. You're about to ask what's on the drive, but Sophie proves to be one step ahead of you. Oh, don't worry about the contents. They are encrypted. Precaution for if the data falls into the wrong hands, but it won't, correct? She gives you a smile that just a handful of nights ago would make you feel like melting. Oh, and Calvin, Kaiser's a Nosferatu, that twisted, deformed lineage of kindred. He is old, and his age has made him even more paranoid than others of his clans tend to be. He holds many havens and changes them often. From what I've gathered, he or one of his servants should be found at the park on Coney Island tonight. You'll have to identify them somehow. I'm told Kaiser has spent many of his nights these past few years being driven around the city in a black limo. Maybe keep an eye out for it. That smile again, but much shorter. Anything more you can tell me about Kaiser? He's been here a long time, about as long as I have. He's got into a lot of trouble for exchanging information with both the Anarchs and the Camarilla in the past, but ultimately got off scot-free. Kaiser's web of information proved to be strong enough to shield him from the consequences of playing both sides. Some say that's the best proof of his abilities. In any case, be careful when talking to him. He's very particular about everyone's etiquette except his own. Good night and good luck. She flashes one last smile at you and turns back to the painting. Clearly done with the conversation, you pocket the flash drive and head out towards Coney Island. It takes you the better part of an hour to reach the lights and sound of the Coney Island amusement park from the city. The drive is almost pleasant this time of night. Thank goodness for Belt Parkway. There are plenty of people here tonight, but nobody who stands out as a traveling purveyor of secrets. Then again, if they did stand out, it'd be kind of pointless, right? Nothing to do but figure out the right approach. Temporarily stumped, you feel frustration building inside. You've come to recognize what this is, hunger, the beast calling to indulge your vice and lash out. It has to be silenced. You take a short walk away from the lights into one of the less frequented and poorly lit areas and see if any options reveal themselves. One does. An older bum has settled himself in a small niche between two buildings and has begun loudly but incoherently praying. Hard to say who he's praying to, but he's entirely engrossed. Good for you. He barely sees you coming, and you bite down, trying to ignore the smell of unwashed body and soiled blanket underneath. The taste is hold up. That's familiar. Yeah, this guy's on a party pill or two, or you stop drinking. You feel woozy but happy. The world spins a bit, then starts spinning the other way. You get it under control. And then you don't. You feel through your thoughts scattering in all directions, every detail of your surroundings turning into a potential fascinating fairway lights and sounds composing a beautiful symphony. You bask in the afterglow of successful feeding, feeling like you're on top of the world, superhuman, a master of the night, a god. I screwed up. A few tangents later, a stray thought saying, this isn't good, breaks through the layers of noise inside your head, and you realize you've been standing in place for 15 minutes. And staring at you intently is a man with a gun in his hand. Great. Oh, there he is. Stay put. There's someone who'd like to have a word with you. We're going to wait for him right here. Who's the guy I'm meeting? Your words come out slurred, barely coherent. Somebody who's going to be pretty pissed that you're hunted in his domain, buddy. Gotta tell you, I'm not envious. The hum of a car engine and the soft screech of brakes reach your ear. The headlights of a black limo pierce the night. Well, I found him. And there's the boss. Let's go. He motions towards the lights with his gun. You're coming to, finally in charge of your body, or at least you think so. The car's doors open, but nobody comes out. The stranger keeps motioning to the car. You hope it's the limo you expect. For a moment, you're pretty sure that what you see inside the car is just the bum's drugged blood kicking in for an encore. The inside of the limo used to be a luxury lounge, the kind with a stripper pole and a bar full of alcohol, but you couldn't even stand up. But it currently has none of that. Instead, there are monitors and consoles. There are dozens of displays, each one showing something different: surveillance camera footage, stock market quotes, television news, emails, tweets, silent movies, lo-fi footage of a gory torture session. You wonder if the limo's owner can focus on anything while surrounded by all of this visual noise, and then realize there's nobody there, or is there? A man blinks into existence on a leather-covered couch, attempting to maintain something that approximates a regal presence. You're 100% sure it's Kaiser. Surrounded by dimly lit computer screens, his features are even more ghastly than you imagined, all sharp angles of twisted bone, mangled flesh, and crooked teeth. He bears them in an awful parody of a smile. The door closes behind you. So, the waste of good blood outside tells me Sophie Langley sent you, huh? You've got something for me. You reluctantly pull the flash drive from your pocket and slowly pass it to Kaiser. He plugs it into a USB port on the arm of his chair, displays the data on one of the screens that happen to be turned away from you. It takes him about a minute to access the data. Let me guess, this from Langley? She said she'd have something like this. You, her new flunky? You have to bite your tongue to keep from arguing with the word he chose, but you nod. Who do you people think I am? I saw this footage a week ago. He removes the flash drive and throws it back at you in disgust. Tell Sophie the deal's off. She wants her address. She can give me something else. I'm sorry this proved disappointing to you, Mr. Kaiser. Can I do something to make it up to you? He seems genuinely impressed. Now that's what I like to hear. Yeah, in fact, I was just about to mention it. I have something in mind. We'll talk again soon. You do that for me, the address is yours. Now, would you be so kind as to get the flibbergy gibbet out of my car? Pretty sure you're done here. You get out, close the door behind you, and the car immediately starts backing up. The opaque window slid past you, and soon the limo is on its way. Kaiser's lackey is nowhere to be seen, so you make your way to your car and drive back, wondering what tomorrow brings. I'm drunk driving. All right, let's get our Tremere pal. You drive at the address given to you by Sophie, a small bookstore smack dab in the middle of Broadway, of all places. What really catches you off guard, though, is the store's display. From what you've heard about Tremere, they are infamous for their ties to the occult and the mystical. And yet now, looking at the oddball collection of items in the display windows, it all feels borderline satirical. The books here cover everything from Ayurvedic practices, and homeopathy, the wellness and self-motivation. The vaguely amusing juxtapositions don't end there either. You notice a copy of Anton Levy's Satanic Bible tucked behind a cheap smiling Buddha. A scientific journal on hematology sits next to a teen-oriented pamphlet on the blood-type personality theory. A number of religious and quasi-religious symbols, lockets, pins, and various emblazoned paraphernalia are haphazardly strewn across the display and between the tomes. Before you even open the door, you can smell the burning incense and hear the corny Far East-tinged music seeping through the crackling speaker mounted above the entrance. It's much more quaint than what you expected from what Sophie told you about the so-called warlocks. It doesn't look like they have much interest in impressing outsiders. Then again, if there's anything you've learned these past few nights, it's that appearance can be deceiving. At this time of night, the shop appears to be closed. Regardless, you ring the bell. You hear something shuffling around inside. A brief moment later, the latch slides and the door is pushed open just a few inches. A tired-looking blonde in loose clothes appears in the crack. She seems confused, like you just woke her up. She lets out a yawn, scratching at her tattooed neck. Finally, she squints in your general direction. Her pierced lip curves into an awkward smile. Hi, I'm here about a mystical problem. I need some occult advice, you could say. The girl gives you a suspicious look over, but opens the door. She takes a few steps back and you hear footsteps coming from behind a floral curtain that covers the back door. As a bespectacled, smart-looking woman emerges and looks straight at you. Well, come in and follow me. Just don't touch anything, please. You follow her through the store. Inside, as expected, the stuffy air smells of sandalwood, frankincense, a dozen other aromas. Paprika. The woman leads you behind the curtain and through the back door onto a rickety staircase. A flight of steps takes you up the second story. You instantly notice the change in decor as the tacky New Age bookstore gives way to something resembling a cross between a library and a workshop. The smell here is strong, too, but much more layered. You're not sure what to make of it at first, but with each whiff, it becomes apparent. Blood. The aroma, though subtle at first, soon becomes overpowering. It takes you a moment to adapt and focus. I don't think you know who you're speaking with, so an introduction is in order. My name is Ailing Sturbridge, and I am the High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs. Oh, nice to meet you. You are Calvin, correct? I have to say you're lucky the ward outside the building is only there for notifications tonight. Otherwise, it would have been quite unpleasant. So that occult advice line was cute, but unless you have something important, and I do mean important, to relay, I'm afraid I don't have a lot of time to spare. High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs? That's quite a mouthful. It might sound fancy, but that's because there's a well-established tradition behind it. One you'd be wise not to ridicule. Some might take offense, me for one. What is it that you're here for? I didn't expect to meet you here. I came here to find Agathon and talk to him about working together. As you might have gathered, he is busy at the moment, so am I, in fact. So unless there's anything else... Suddenly a man enters from a side room. He doesn't even look at you, lost in his own thoughts. I have it, Aisling. I think I know how to find it. He catches himself as he notices you. His face turns sour. A visitor. Yes, we were just discussing you, in fact. Is that so? Let me introduce myself. My name is Calvin. I've been told you might be interested in teaming up. Teaming up? What is this? The Avengers? He seems very confused by the notion. What for? I could assist you in your work. I can be quite helpful knowing I can count on someone to return the favor. Is that right? He seems to consider it, then turns to Aisling. High Regent, may I ask your advice on this? Aisling looks at you with nary a sign of emotion. I believe that you are more than capable of carrying out your task, my child. Do not think any assistance will be necessary. Oddly enough, he seems somewhat disappointed. Your confidence in me is appreciated, High Regent. It has been earned, so it's settled then. I'd kindly ask that you leave, fledgling. We have many matters to discuss, matters not meant for undiscerning ears. Both of the warlocks look at you expectantly. Wait, please, I didn't mean any disrespect. I'm sorry if we started off on the wrong foot. You only get one shot at that first impression, and you've missed yours by a mile. So if you can think of anything clever to say, now would be a good time. Otherwise, you know where the door is. Listen, frankly, I'm not sure what it is you want to hear. Is there anything I can say to make it up to you? You misunderstood me. It's not about what you're willing to say. Talk is cheap. But if you're willing to actually do something for us, it might be useful in our current predicament. What do you have in mind, High Regent? Why not you start by giving our intern here a brief explanation of what it is you're after? Agathon gives Aisling a hesitant look, but the woman nods approvingly. Encouraged, he turns towards you. Member of our clan disappeared without a trace a handful of nights ago. While the High Regent investigates if any foul play was involved, I've been tasked with recovering her research notes. If there's anything left to recover, that is. I may have an idea of where to start looking, and I suppose this is where you come in. If you truly wish to help, I could use your assistance tonight. Right now, in fact, given the time we've just wasted on idle chatter, I should leave immediately. And the missing kindred, who is she? A single glance at Aisling is enough. You can tell you're not getting an answer, at least for now. We're after her research. That's what you should focus on. These people are in the habit of making things simple, facing layers upon layers of secrecy. You can only hope that what lies beneath is the real deal. I'm heading out. Are you coming or not? Sure, I'll join you. Very well. He gives Aisling a slight bow. High Regent, with your permission? She nods. Before you go, however, Calvin, defer to Agathon in all things. Our clan values obedience above everything else. Prove you can follow, and this might turn into a mutually beneficial relationship. I'll await his return and his report. Good luck, my child. Agathon bows again and heads out, urging you to follow. The High Regent watches you leave. Outside, Agathon leads you to his car. It's almost funny seeing him get behind a wheel. Somehow you'd expect a more mystical means of transportation, like the mystery wagon. You drive south, heading to the Lower East Side. Agathon seems lost in thought. Either that, or he's a very careful driver. Either way, several minutes pass in silence. So where are we going? Williamsburg. There's a place there that our missing colleague frequented. He seems to be thinking of the right word before he decides to address you again. Let me ask you something. Why me? There's likely a couple hundred of us kindred in New York, yet you seek me out specifically. Why? For one, Sophie spoke highly of you. She gave me a short list of people to meet. You were on it. I see. Once more I grow silent. You're unsure whether to continue prying as your driver seems to disappear into his thoughts. You drive into Williamsburg and stop by a fancy-looking building. We're here. There's a restaurant on the top floor. You wanted to help, so here's your chance. I need you to get us inside the VIP lobby. Once we're in, I need about a half an hour of focus and some space. It'll be up to you to keep attention away from the room. Can you do it? He doesn't wait for an answer and points to the front door. Go ahead, I'm right behind you. Two of you take the elevator up to the restaurant. The doors open and you see that there are only a few guests left sitting at their tables. An important-looking staff member approaches you. Good evening, I'm very sorry, but the restaurant is closing for the night. I can make a reservation for next week if you wish. Hey, we're not your regular customers. In fact, we're location scouting for a movie. Just take a quick look around, and we're gone. No, I'm sorry, we're not interested in being featured in a movie. I'll have to ask you to look elsewhere. I would suggest Smith and Wolinski's or the 21 Club. Hey, it's all good. We can come in. We'll be in the VIP lobby. It won't take long. The man blinks. A confused smile appears on his face. Yes, of course. Not a problem. Please come right in. You walk in, trying to look casual, and make your way towards the VIP lobby. You step inside and close the door behind you. It's a nice place, very highbrow, lots of old, expensive-looking furniture, and private rooms to discuss any sordid business one discusses when you're that rich. Your companion looks at you with something akin to admiration, or at least that's how you chose to interpret the slight change in his usual somber facade. Not bad at all. He inspects the room. It's unusually cold, and Agathon soon discovers why. Looking behind the curtain, a window hangs open. The handle and lock look like they've been dissolved, as if with acid. Goodness gracious, it's Juno. Who's Juno? How about I tell you some other time? Takes a frantic look around the room. This changes things. Keep an eye on the door. I'll need some time. Half an hour at the very least. Nobody disturbs me, understand? He hastily pushes a couch on some potted plants out of the way, makes a bar stool, and takes out a curved knife. Cutting into his own arm, he lets some of his blood drip onto the wooden floor. It's perfectly fricked up, the way his flesh oozes the deep red, thick vitae. In life, you'd have found its stomach churning, but right now, you feel weirdly turned around by the sight. What follows is more disturbing yet. With one hand, he sheathes the knife and seals the wound with the other. He smears the blood around him while muttering some weird chant. It sounds vaguely Latin, but you're pretty sure it isn't. It's all more than a little disconcerting, but he seems to know what he's doing. A few moments later, the circle starts glowing faintly as thin wisps of smoke surround Agathon. He sits down in the middle, legs crossed, eyes closed. Minutes pass. Agathon's face twitches from time to time, and his head turns every now and then, as if he was looking around or listening in on a conversation. The smoke grows thicker, forming a veil around the mage. You expected something more flashy, but it's still a sight to behold. You wonder what the point of it is, but refrain from asking. It's probably best to let Agathon do his thing. For close to 30 minutes, you're left to your own devices. Then suddenly the door opens slightly, and the manager leans into the room. You tense up for a second, but he just gives you an awkward smile. Anything you need? You shoo him away before he can take a closer look at your companion, and he retreats obediently. 2 minutes later, Agathon casually gets up off the floor and walks over to the sofa. Pushes his hand in between the cracks in the upholstery and fishes something out. He then turns to you and nods. We're done here. Let's go. You make your way back to the elevator, passing the manager on your way. Gives you a slight, somewhat confused smile, but neither him nor any of the staff get in your way. Despite that, the elevator ride down feels tense, and the two of you only relax once inside Agathon's car. He starts the engine and takes a right at the Continental Army Plaza, back onto the bridge. You're just about to say something, but he beats you to it. That went better than I expected, all things considered. It might have been a trick of the light, but you're pretty sure you just saw a smile. I'm used to working alone, but what I'm dealing with right now might require some more assistance, and you seem capable enough. So I'm guessing you found what you came for? Sort of, enough to continue the search at any rate. That seems to deplete his social battery for the night. You drive the rest of the way in silence. It doesn't take you long to reach the warlock's hideout. Agathon waves at you absent-mindedly, once again lost in his thoughts, hopelessly so. One of these nights, you should probably take him up on his offer. Who knows? If you gain his trust, maybe you can actually break through his stoic facade and meet the man underneath. No. Okay. You're walking down the street towards your haven. Some other town, the sidewalk would be deserted this time of night. In New York City, there are plenty of passersby going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindred have many enemies, and all of these enemies have one trait in common. They're invisible, indistinguishable from normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker or a kindred thrall tailing your movements? Are the officers idly waiting in a patrol car, ordinary cops, or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness, but you can't shake the feeling that someone is watching you. It's not the first time you felt like this. Whatever this is, it's probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Unfortunately, being undead has its limitations. The sun is coming up soon, and you'll burn to a crisp if you stay on the streets. You reach your haven and settle in for the day, disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. As you wake from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the other side of the street, standing on the corner and looking straight at you. It's Kaiser's lackey whom you met recently, Jackie. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. His hands are outside of his pockets, and he seems pretty relaxed. He's keeping his eye on the street, though, as if making sure you're alone. He smiles awkwardly when you approach. Evening. Got something for you from our mutual friend. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, then give it back here. It's a letter. The paper might be just a page ripped out of a spiral notebook, but the writing on it is exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads, "Time to square your debt with me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro. When they tell you they don't have it, say you are a fidel servitor del Famiglia G. Those exact frickin' words, and make sure you get the G right. You'll get a bottle. Just take it and leave by saying grazie. Don't ask how much it is or anything else. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to Jackie Boy here and let him know. You done memorizing that stuff and hand it over." "I don't see where the rush is, buddy. Hey, it's your funeral. I can stand here all night and even enjoy a nice sunrise while I'm at it. No luxury, not a luxury you have. Just hand me back the letter once you're done." You note the phrases and addresses mentioned in the letter, then hand it back to Jackie. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns the letter, putting out the ashes with his boot. "So, yeah, when you do what the boss asks, come back here so I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in the alley over there. So find me when you have the item. Whatever it is, I don't know, and the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care, so I don't. See ya." He shuffles away and leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night, but curiously, the wine shop is still open. Inside, a small middle-aged woman with curly hair stands behind the counter on the front of the wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and chair occupied by a man in a black faux leather jacket with slick coned-back hair. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. "Good evening. How can I help you?" What'd I say? Okay. It's going to be direct. "I would like a bottle of the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro, please." "Let me check our stock." She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop sitting on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. "I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry." "I am a fidel servitor della Famiglia G." "Ah, in that case, let me see if we have any in the back. Wait here, please." The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from the nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. You remind yourself of what Kaiser wrote in the letter, and you keep quiet, patiently waiting for the woman to return from the back of the store. The man finishes his drink and starts doodling on the newspaper, his eyes darting to you every so often. The door to the back of the store opens. The proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled squat bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologetic smile. "Excuse me, sorry for taking so long. Turns out we did have it." She offers you the bottle and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. "You do know what this is, don't you?" Ooh, what do you recommend? Hmm. I feel like I'm not supposed to say anything else. You focus your blood and immediately see both of the people in the shop focus intently in on you and what you're about to say. "I know exactly what this is, and I'm the right person to give it to." The woman gives you the bottle without hesitation. "Grazi." Deciding you've pushed your luck far enough, you nod and exit the store. Then take a brisk walk to your car. Nobody follows you as you leave Nolita and drive back to your apartment. It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. "Got the goods?" "Sure do." "Cool. Stand by. Gotta make the call." Takes a few more steps into a narrow space between two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. "Hey, boss. Yeah, they have it. Where do I point them to?" "Okay, yeah, I'll tell them to go there right away." Puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. "Willett points. Half an hour, so you better step on it. See you around." With only a flippant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way back to the car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Willett's Point is quiet, a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further down, the potholes will kill your chassis. You step out into one of these gashes in the asphalt, splashing in the ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking the place up. Oh, why not? This is too perfect an opportunity to not take advantage of. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out, your assault, the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently and feel a pang of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this, for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling over down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Kaiser's finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car doors open, but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time Kaiser is visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you. "So you pulled it off without a hitch then. Give it here." You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, and puts the cork back in. "Yeah, that's the stuff. Good job, kid. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, and also take this. It's what Langley wanted." He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. "Thank you, Mr. Kaiser." Yeah. I'll send Jackie over if I ever need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now." He waves you out of the car. With an envelope in hand, you get out back onto the torn asphalt in decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you can return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Gregor lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh, and you realize Sophie's having a guest over. Thomas Arturo, you met in Elysium a few nights back. That shriek is unmistakable. Ah, Calvin, so glad to see you. Tell me, did you two have a chance to talk previously? Yes, he was not that interested in me. Thomas speaks up before you can. Why, yes, of course, and such a good first impression you made, too. Miss Langley clearly did the right thing by taking you under his wings. You under her wing. I'm sure she thinks so, too, don't you, Sophie? Why, of course. Of course you do, of course. Well, I believe I must be going. I'll be sure to let Prince Panhard know your thoughts, Miss Langley. Word for word, or as close as I can remember them. I appreciate it, Thomas. You two enjoy your night now. Good night, Sophie. Calvin, Greggy boy. He gives you a sly smile. Sophie's driver opens the door for Arturo, and the guest steps out with a single wave of the hand towards his host and you. The door closes. I hope it's not another story where, like, the prince goes, like, overboard. Because it's like, it doesn't make any sense. The Camarilla is trying to maintain the masquerade, but, like, the villains too often are the Camarilla trying to break the masquerade. It's cuckoo. Like, I don't know. It's not natural. He's quite the character, isn't he? Yes, quite. But he has his uses. Thomas has clout in court and access to many juicy details in everyone, from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. Speaking of patience, you've been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? Yes, I have it. But the data you offered was old news to him. I had to do another job for him before he'd give me this card. She retrieves the envelope from you. I'm sure he did. I do hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. Well, you weren't all that grateful, so. He made me go on an entirely separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Nolita. I had to use a code phrase and whatnot. Wine shop code phrase? That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Kaiser had you do, it'll blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw in Kaiser's note from before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes, excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear charge. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside. You are left to do with the rest of this night's hours as you like. All right, golly, I got so many people now. Who's that? Probably Jessica. Who cares about her? All right, I've kept him waiting the longest. You make your way through now a familiar rusty maze of the grain terminal and up the stairs to D'Angelo's office. This time, however, you find the room firmly locked. There's a note pinned to the door. You rip it off and scan the crooked lettering. There's been another one. At the scene now. Come to Bed-Stuy, corner of Pulaski and Garvey, ASAP. Looks like D'Angelo could use your help. Better get going. As you approach the address D'Angelo gave you, a squad car passes you by, sirens blaring. Following it, you make a turn from DeKalb Ave onto Pulaski Street. Sure enough, the street is awash with red lights and the 4 or so police cars parked on the nearest corner next to an ambulance confirm that you're in the right place. You move closer to what appears to be a New York's finest convention. Look around in the hopes of spotting a familiar, if not altogether pleasant face. No such luck. True to his Nosferatu lineage, D'Angelo was nowhere to be seen. You stop on the sidewalk across the street, trying not to draw attention to yourself. All of a sudden, one of the cops standing by the entrance to the building looks straight at you. He does a double take, and you instinctively look away. Bad move, you think to yourself as you notice him making his way towards you. Not allowing panic to set in, you stand your ground, doing your best ordinary citizen impression. The cop waddles across the street towards you, a sense of authority putting that extra spring in his step. You try to remain calm, even as he puts his hand on his holster. Dog poopy, you can't help but mouth the word. This is about to get messy. Suddenly he stops, as if instinctively realizing that he was just inches away from a grisly demise. He waves at you dismissively and yells in a thick Brooklyn accent. Hey, I wish I could do a Brooklyn accent. Might be able to try one, but I can't think of it at the moment. Hey, this here is an active crime scene. Be in your way. And if I say I could try to do it, it still wouldn't be good because I'm no voice actor. Relieved, but trying not to show it, you put on your grumpy New Yorker face and start to walk away. As you make your way past a dark alleyway, someone grabs you by the arm and pulls you into the shadows. If the smell of cigars and cheap cologne don't give him away, the gravelly voice sure does. Nice save. Dumb to show your face around here in the first place, but still. Come on, I'm parked around the corner. Before you know it, you're sitting in the passenger seat of a busted old sedan parked half a block away, giving you a nice view of the police gathering. You want to see? He wants to feed on it? Why don't I talk to them? I might convince them to let us in. It gives you a look as if you just let rip a massive fart. Right. Look, kid, it's not that I don't trust you, but how about we give that raw animal magnetism of yours a dry run, huh? Pretend I'm one of the cops guarding the entrance. Convince me to let you in. Evening, officer, you might not have noticed, but I'm in fact a vampire, and I've just used my unholy powers of persuasion on your feeble mind. Now why don't you piggies go grab yourself a donut and freak off for a while? What is that word? Cathexby? Well, okay then. I guess that might work. See, nothing to it. Fair enough. Go get him, Tiger. I'll stay close by just in case things go south. You get out of the car, slamming the door a bit too loudly for your own good. As you cross the street, you already feel like you've made a big mistake. Oh well, too late to turn back now. Might as well give it your best shot. As you approach the cops, your whole body tenses up. It's funny that this would make you nervous, considering all you've seen these past few nights. And yet it does. Two officers seem to be engaged in a heated debate regarding last night's Mets game. You stop just a few steps away and open your mouth. Whatever's about to come out is better out. It better be good. And then, just as you're about to weasel your way into their unsuspecting minds, you freeze. One of the cops notices you and gives you a slight nod. Yeah, hey, if you're going in, make sure you stay away from 209 after crime scene, you know. And with that, they get back to arguing whether or not the umpire was bought and paid for or not. Utterly confused, you piece together what's left of your senses and hurry past them. Inside the building, D'Angelo stands in the hallway, dumbfounded. As you open your mouth, he stops you with a gesture. Don't even talk to me right now. In awkward silence, you both make your way up to the second floor. Finding the crime scene proves easy enough. You just follow the yellow police tape, and before you know it, you're standing in the middle of what used to be someone's living room. His gift, our fate, maybe? The place has been completely trashed, knocked over, furniture shattered, glass the works. Looking around, you notice a sign scribbled on a nearby wall. It reads, "His gift, our fate." You're no expert in typography, but the crooked letters look similar to the ones you saw back in Red Hook. Sure enough, there's very little in terms of blood, save for the occasional stain that's bound to end up on the carpet once you toss someone through a glass coffee table. D'Angelo leans against the doorway. He seems lost in his thoughts, sucking on his cigar compulsively and mumbling to himself. You lean over a bit, trying not to make it obvious that you're listening in. You manage to catch the last few lines in his monologue. The night's been kind to them so far, but the questions kept piling on, and now they've found themselves amidst the wreckage of another life. It was up to them to sift through the debris and come up with a neat little pile of answers. Suddenly he tenses up as if sensing your eyes upon him. "Feel free to chip in, kid. Anything catch your eye?" No blood, same as before. At least none spilled. So does that tell us? That this was a feeding, that the killer's kindred might be the one we're after? Might doesn't make right. Let's not make assumptions until we see the body. Still, the pattern is consistent. Gosh darn it, I hate where this is going. Which is me being right about thin blood involvement, I mean. Anyway, it looks like we're not getting any more out of this place. No way around it. We got to see the body. In for a penny, in for a pound. Might as well be prudent. My thoughts exactly. The Duskborn have it bad as it is. If I'm going to accuse one of them of breaching the masquerade, I want solid evidence. And I mean rock frickin' solid. Lucky for us, I might know someone who could get us an audience with our dearly departed. To your surprise, he pulls out a cell phone, a busted old clamshell. He flips it open and spends a good minute browsing through the contacts, muttering to himself. Finally, he makes a call. "Hey, you know who this is? Yeah. That favor you owe me? Time to deliver. Listen, I know you got a fresh one. The murder in Bed-Stuy. I need to take a look. Yes, now. Yeah, you'd better." With that, he hangs up and gives you this trademark wry smile. Gives you his trademark wry smile. So are we good? Yeah, we're good. Next stop, Kings County. Kings County, the bleeding heart of Brooklyn. It's beating as hard as ever, with ambulance after ambulance bringing in sick and wounded New Yorkers to be pumped through the tight arteries of the healthcare system. It's a dangerous place for a kindred to show their face, and incessantly crowded and full of people who specialize in noticing all sorts of physical afflictions, especially the sort that make up the very essence of a vampire's existence, for instance, death. Thankfully, your business here tonight keeps you away from the hectic human hive of the ER. Instead, you follow D'Angelo to a relatively quiet part of the underground parking lot that's closest to your current point of interest, the Kings County morgue. Having found yourself a convenient and suitably unlit spot near the hospital wall, you wait patiently for D'Angelo's contact to appear. Every now and then you glance over at the undead gumshoe as if to make sure his moldy mug isn't showing any signs of worry. It isn't, or at least he's very good at hiding it. Finally, after 30 minutes or so, a lone figure emerges from a side entrance. As the human-shaped shadow walks by, you're quick to recognize him as the EMT you saw back at the murder site. Clearly nervous, the 20-something-year-old redhead can't seem to help but look back and make sure no one is following him. Finally, he stops and lights up a cigarette. Without even looking in your direction, he takes a puff and exclaims, seemingly to no one in particular, "Room 112. You got 20 minutes. D'Angelo speaks without looking at you. That's our cue. You follow the Fing detective through the same door. The The EMT walks out. Luckily, this wing of the hospital seems usually empty. Still, the confidence with which D'Angelo makes his way through the white and green corridors makes it clear he's been here before. Finally, he stops in front of one of the doors, room 112. That's your stop. The room is small with only one oversized freezer by the wall and a single slab mounted in the center. Sure enough, the body of a middle-aged man is splayed out on its steel surface. Even for a dead man, he seems unnaturally pale. Extreme blood loss will do that to you. Try as you might, you can't help but look at the man's face, his features twisted in abject horror. This is not a peaceful death. Looking closely, you notice 2 small puncture wounds on the victim's neck. If ever there was a clear sign of a vampire attack, you've yet to see it. Looking over at D'Angelo, you notice his lips moving in a familiar fashion. He's narrating again. Before he can utter an intelligible word, you cut in with a remark. Those mark in his neck. Is that what I think it is? Yep, good eye, kid. It's official. Our killer is kindred. Look at his face, though. Sheer terror. He was fully aware all the way through. Killing aside, no kindred worth their salt would allow that to happen, unless they didn't even know better. This confirms it. We're looking at it for a thin blood. Frick. As if on cue, the door swings open. A tired-looking man with a stethoscope around his neck walks in. His eyes fixed on his clipboard, he doesn't appear to notice you yet. Letting your instincts take over, you pounce on an unsuspecting doctor, plunging your fangs into his aorta. The precious liquid tastes sickeningly sweet, making you feel a bit lightheaded. It appears the good doctor has been getting high on his own supply. It takes you a moment to get your fill, but when you're finally done, you immediately feel D'Angelo's eyes upon you. You start coming up with an excuse, but he just smirks. You're a quick kid, I'll give you that. Beat me to it by a pube. Now come on, let's get out of here. Time to play our dear Primogen another visit. Robert Larson's home looks about the same as last time. No added security, no angry dogs prowling the yard. It appears that the thin-blood Primogen would rather risk another visit from his old pal D'Angelo than arouse suspicion of his family and neighbors, which is good, considering that what he's about to get. Sure enough, the lights in Larson's study is on, and you even catch a glimpse of the man himself, shuffling around the room. You look over to D'Angelo, wondering how you're going to get Larson's attention this time. Not a single word, D'Angelo walks over to a nearby street lamp and leans against it, making sure he's visible to any and all who happen to look. Looks like time for subtlety is over. It only takes a couple minutes for Larson to take notice. You see him lean against the window and storm out of the room. Mere second, he's out in front and in D'Angelo's face. Listen to me, you moldy frick. I've had just about enough of your garbage. You want to pester me, fine, but leave my family out of it. For a moment, D'Angelo just stands there motionless, allowing Larson to get his frustration out. Suddenly, he grabs the thin blood by the collar, lifts him off the ground, and smashes back against the lamppost. Are you finished? All right? Now you listen to me and listen good. You think I'm enjoying this? You think I like to be jerked around? You think I got nothing better to do than hang around this little puppet theater you've made for yourself? Now either you give me a lead I can follow, or I'll start remembering things you'd rather forget. For the first time since you met him, Larson looks speechless, his eyes wide with fear. He can only mutter under his breath, "You wouldn't dare. Try me." Cue awkward silence. You stand there, shifting your eyes from one vampire to the other. Guess it's time to either press the vantage or play the good cop. Look, we're all a bit stressed out. How about we all just take a deep breath, figuratively speaking. No, I don't feel like it. I tried being nice, but some people don't appreciate nice. Some people will do anything to cover their asses. Isn't that right, Robert? If you want my help, put me the freak down. With his feet back on the ground, Larson straightens his collar in a faint attempt at preserving some shred of dignity. There's a place in Manhattan, Lower East Side, one of the few places in the city where my people can find shelter. Yeah, I know it. If you go there right now, you might find what you're looking for. D'Angelo stares at him for a moment, just long enough to make it uncomfortable. We'd better. Finally, D'Angelo loosens his grip. You both watch Larson limp back to his house, looking back over his shoulder like he's going to tell the teacher on you. You look at your partner, meaning to ask what that whole thing you'd rather forget deal was. As if sensing your curiosity, D'Angelo cuts in with a preemptive mutter. Come on, we've got what we came for. As you reach the address Larson gave you, you find yourself standing in front of what looks like an old garage. On the outside, the place looks uninteresting as it gets. You'd think it abandoned, if not for the few barely working lights illuminating its shabby facade. Once you're inside, however, if ever there was a place worthy of being called a wretched hive of scum and villainy, this is probably it. The room is littered with drunks and crackheads, human and thin blood alike, their minds lost in their cruel little world, their bodies splayed out across the floor. D'Angelo leans over and whispers in your ear. I'll cover the back door. You stay near the front. Let's look around and see what we can find. Before you can ask what exactly you're supposed to be looking for, D'Angelo disappears into the shadows. Doing your best to blend in with the crowd, which is fairly difficult considering your upright position, you slowly make your way across the larger room. Not really knowing what you're looking for, you focus on the details. A knowing smirk, a hateful stare, anything that looks even the slightest bit suspicious. After a dozen or so empty stares, you're almost ready to give up when suddenly something catches your eye. A young, skinny woman hunched in the corner of the room. She gives you a bewildered look, a 1,000-yard stare that tells you beyond a shadow of doubt it's her. As you walk towards her, D'Angelo emerges from the shadows right next to you. Nice catch. He kneels down beside her. You can tell he's trying to sound as comforting as possible, but with his gravelly timbre, it's not really working out. Hey, it's okay. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk. No, don't talk. Too loud, too loud. She seems halfway out of it. It's like the lights are on, but whatever's inside is stumbling around after one hell of a bender. All right. You like quiet, got it. Can you tell me your name? Susanna. That's what he called me. Suddenly you hear the door swing open behind you, even though the night is fairly warm. Cold chill runs down your spine. You look toward the entrance. There's a woman standing there, and something about her just screams kindred. Even though she seems comically overdressed for the situation, somehow you don't feel like cracking a smile. Whoever she is, you can tell she means business. She starts making her way to the back of the room, not making any effort to sidestep any of the junkies and drunks. They all know well enough to get out of her way. Acting out of bravery or sheer stupidity, you walk up to her. She looks at you as if you were something she just scraped off her shoe. You smile nervously without even knowing it. As soon as you open your mouth, her hand shoots out, grabbing you by the throat. The woman looks at you, tilting her head as if examining a curious species of insect. Suddenly her eyes shift as she notices something behind you. Her face turns from disgusted curiosity to sheer annoyance. Oh, that's some hair. You. Hey, Val, that's my assistant you got there. Do you mind? She rolls her eyes. You feel the grip on your neck loosen, and you awkwardly fall to your feet. She makes her way towards D'Angelo, pushing you aside like a rag doll. Where is she? You're going to have to be a bit more specific, darling. Don't play coy. Ginny, the manslayer, I know she's here. A blood hunt has begun. By order of the prince herself, the girl is to meet her final death. Hold your horses, honey. I'm conducting an investigation under the auspices of the sheriff. That counts for something, too. Look, sweetie, I'm not here for some stuff measuring contest. You want this to get ugly? Be my guest. Otherwise, I suggest you step aside and let me do my job. I'm going to learn some more slang. By all means. He steps aside in a comically exaggerated fashion. You look at the corner where you last saw Santa, but you find no trace of the girl. Well, I could swear she was just here. Valerie looks at D'Angelo. She smiles softly, but you can tell she's trying very hard not to rip his head off. You'll regret this. Story of my life. Without another word, she turns on her heels and storms out. D'Angelo waves his hand in your general direction. Come on, kid, let's get out of this poo hole. As you emerge from said poo hole, you feel the cool night breeze caress your face. It's soothing and almost makes you forget how crappy the last few hours have been. Almost. Okay, kid, I know you've got questions, but it's getting early. I don't feel like having a Q&A session right now. For now, you get one question. Make it count. Our perp's gone, and now we're on some psycho chick poo list. What the heck do we do now? Well, the good news is we know who we're looking for. The bad news, Valerie knows it as well. She's a scourge, kid. Part enforcer, part assassin, all around pain in the patootie. We'll be seeing more of her, you can bet on that. Before you ask, yes, we've run into each other in the past. No, I don't feel like talking about it. All right, kid. I don't know about you, but I'm turning in. I'll figure some stuff out and keep looking for our girl. Feel free to swing by the office in a night or two. With that, he stumbles off into the distance and not even bothering to keep to the shadows. Can't say me blame him. It really has been a rough night. All right, let's call it good. Thanks for watching another episode of Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. Hope you had a good time, and thanks for watching.